And now the good news. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Barbara Jean, and I'm glad to be back. I missed you last month, but back here, and we'll be, doing this on the regular again. So, good news for a Friday afternoon or evening. I'm so delighted to be with you. And as we begin tonight, we begin with a most interesting little story. A cat that goes on a parachute skiing adventure. How's that for interesting? And look at that little helmet. Like, I can't imagine why a cat would be okay doing that. But anyway, a daredevil cat soared through the skies on a parachute skiing adventure, sporting his own little tiny helmet. The Bengal mix named Thoth was securely strapped to owner Ivan as they soared down the slopes of a ski resort in Russia last month. After testing out downhill skiing together in December, the duo decided to take things up a notch and leading to their high flying stunt. To keep Thoth secure, Ivan attached his harness to the speed glider's own safety gear, and the tiny adventurer also wore a warm down jacket to ward off the cold mountain air. Ivan, an alpine ski instructor and skydiver from Russia, said the cat trusts him completely and feels safe. During the flight, he looked around with curiosity and was totally calm. The only thing that scared him was the noise of the cable car, so he started landing further away from it. Ivan first discovered Thoth's love for adventure when the kitten crawled out of his backpack during a bike ride and perched on his shoulder for the entire trip. Now, the 7-month-old kitty accompanies Ivan on all his adventures. How sweet is that? I have cats that don't even want to go in a car. So that's hilarious. I love it. Okay, moving right along. Here's another silly story. A pothole prank. A man erects fake legs in the road, and the neglected hole was promptly filled. Oh, look at that. It looks like somebody's stuck in there. After 8 months of swerving to avoid an axle breaking pothole in the road through an English village, a local decided enough was enough. But rather than get mad, James Coxell decided to highlight the danger and frustration the hole presented and do it with humor. Instead of leaving a furiously indignant message on the Castle Camp Town Council's answering machine, Coxell enlisted the help of his wife and kids to build a pair of wooden legs and feet clad in jeans and shoes and fix it down in the hole as if someone had fallen in head first. We just thought that would be the most amusing way to sort of highlight the pothole. And as it happens, you got to have a laugh when a joke like that is done. Located on Haverhill Road in the county of Cambridgeshire, Coxell said he measured it himself and it spanned a yawning 3 feet in length, nearly the same in width, and plunged 3 inches deep in the earth. The kids helped. We drilled in some wood for the legs. We found an old pair of jeans that were going to the charity shop. We put them on, we stuffed it with some rags, and then we screwed a pair of their old shoes on top. Receiving attention from the neighbors, not least at school, where the Coxell kids became prankster celebrities, the hole has attracted attention for the requisite maintenance crew. Look at that. That is a huge hole. Yeah, that would definitely bust an axle on a car. Oh, man. Well, I thought that was pretty funny, so I had to share it. Okay, moving on to sports. Ageless ace LeBron James becomes the first to score 50,000 points in an NBA regular season and playoffs. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. LeBron James has become the first player in NBA history to score a combined 50,000 points across all games, season and postseason. He made the record with a three-pointer in the first quarter of the LA Lakers' 136-115 win over the New Orleans Pelicans, in which he scored 34. Talk about longevity. I mean, that's a lot of points, James said afterward, rubbing his beard in wonder. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is where I'm from, picking up the game when I was a little kid and having a love of the sport and hoping that someday I'd be able to play at the highest level. I've been able to do that and really enjoy my career. So it's definitely an honor. It's pretty cool to see. Across his joint most ever season in the NBA of 22, LeBron is gradually leaving other greats of the game behind. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is fading into the rearview mirror with his 44,149 points across 20 seasons. 50,000 points wasn't a record set by another player. LeBron already was the NBA's all-time highest scorer across regular season and playoffs. It's just a nice round number, unlikely to be touched for a long time. Yes, I do believe that that is true. Well, on that note, let's take a little commercial break and then we will be back with more good news. Don't go away.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the 2025 season for Nonviolence Meditation Series, January 31st through April 4th. Embrace nonviolence every day with our 64 unique video meditations. Join us at 6 a.m. Mountain Time or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. Featuring a collection of New Thought voices, the 2025 season for Nonviolence Meditation Series. Only on New Thought Media Network, January 31st through April 4th.
Welcome to Science of Mind Archives, your gateway to spiritual wisdom. Join us for our grand opening gala. Experience a weekend of inspiration. Enjoy a ribbon-cutting ceremony, a gala dinner and workshops, plus a labyrinth walk and town hall. Connect with a community of seekers. Explore spiritual teachings and resources. Find your path to personal growth. Join us from April 24th to 27th. Lodging options are still available. Visit our website www.scienceofmindarchives.com for more details. Please RSVP by March 15th. Featuring Reverend Jesse Jennings, musical inspirations with Karen Drucker, and the spirit of Ernest Holmes. Come celebrate our new home at Unity Village, Lee's Summit, Missouri, and please visit www.scienceofmindarchives.com.
So many exciting things coming up that, wow, Science Mind Archives. I'm really excited about that. All right, so moving right along in our stories, degraded lands transformed into productive farms. With science, we can create wonders. This is really remarkable. And given all that's going on in our world today, this is truly good news. In a degraded and semi-arid farming area in India, simple science-driven changes to the landscape have colored the horizon and a village's fortune with green. In the Latur district in the central western state of Maharashtra, 40 years of erratic rainfall, groundwater depletion, soil erosion, and crop failures have impoverished the local people. In the village, the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics launched a project in 2023 that aimed at addressing these challenges through integrated landscape management and climate-smart farming practices. Multiple forms of data collection allowed them to target precise strategies for each challenge facing the 2,000 or so people who live there. Key interventions focused on three critical areas: water conservation, land enhancement with crop diversification, and soil health improvement. Rainwater harvesting structures recharged groundwater around 1,200 acres, raising water tables by 12 feet and securing reliable irrigation. Farm ponds provided supplemental irrigation, while embanking across 320 acres reduced soil erosion. Farmers diversified their crops, converting 120 or so acres of previous fallow land into productive farmland with legumes, millets, and vegetables. Horticulture linked markets for fruits and flowers improved income stability. Weather monitoring equipment was also installed that actively informed sustainable irrigation practices. It's a prime example of how data driven approaches can address complex agricultural challenges, ensuring interventions are precise and impactful. The village is a model of other semi arid regions in India and beyond. Farmers actively participated in planning and decision making, fostering long term commitment. This is the type of thing that's going to really assist us moving forward, where we can, maybe in areas that are impoverished, uh, make sure there's lots of land for them to produce good vegetables, etc. So, good job. Yay, science. Well, you're going to have to take a really good look at this tree in order to realize that it's not actually an entire forest. Look at that. Looks like a forest. North America is graced with the presence of the oldest single tree, the oldest tree colony, the tallest tree, and the largest tree of wood volume. But it's India where one must go stand beneath the world's largest tree canopy. At 2.5 times the size of the Jefferson Memorial in DC and 4 times the size of a football field, looking up at the spreading branches of the Thimama's banyan tree isn't possible because they spread further than the eye can see at any single point. Cool, eh? Looking at this 550-year-old member of the ficus genus from a distance, one is likely to believe they're looking at a grove of trees. Walking between the trunks that twist and grab like tentacles, one may actually believe they're in a grove, but they're wrong. With 4.7 acres of canopy coverage supported by 1,000 individual trunks, Thimama Meramanu is certainly one of the living wonders of the world and deserves to be counted among the most extraordinary trees on earth. Just to be certain the reader has understood the scope of the tree, the sequoia tree, General Sherman, the largest tree on earth by volume, boasts a canopy coverage of just 1,487 square meters, not even 1/10 the banyan's size. Located in India's southeast, its name comes from the Telugu language. Folklore tells of it sprouting from one of the poles that held up a man's funeral pyre, until which his wife, a 15th century woman named Thimama, threw herself in the act of sati. Rather than normal trees that grow vertical from one trunk, the banyan tree spreads its limbs horizontally and drops down aerial roots to anchor these branches with new woody columns. Yes, well, this thimama has over 1,000 of these secondary trunks. It's a very interesting tree. Banyans are a type of strangler fig tree which grow parasitically by sprouting from cracks and crevices in other trees, eventually consuming them and leaving a hollowed interior, which is how one can tell which of the many trunks was the original one. It likely makes a good case of being the largest parasitical organism on Earth as well. Cool, eh? I'll tell you, we get our stories, a lot of them from the Good News Network, goodnews.org. So you can go there and find good news when you need a little uplift. And boy, we're so grateful because these stories are wonderful. All right, moving right along. New Yorkers will love this new 7.5 mile trail along the Hudson River Highlands, inspired by landscape painters. The Hudson River Valley and nearby upland is dotted with popular hiking spots, but poor access and limited infrastructure have meant that nearby towns are overwhelmed by visitors during the hiking seasons. A new comprehensive park and trail will connect these peaks and troughs like never before and will help spread visiting hikers more evenly along the riverside and keep them off the main road of State Road 9D. Called the Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail, the design borrows from the landscapes palette of the Hudson River School of 19th century painting by linking marshland, forest, highlands, and riverlands with a 7.5 mile linear trail stretching from Beacon to the town of Cold Spring. Environmental stewardship has long been valued among the hills of the Hudson River, and the Fjord Trail plans to help regenerate degraded landscapes and protect those which remain. Powered by a public-private partnership with the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, the trail will span 2 counties, engage 4 local communities, and ensure that as many people as possible can enjoy the area's scenic bounty while also reducing the impact of overvisitation on us and nature alike. The team bringing this to life is second to none. Isn't that amazing? Wow, the Fjord Trail will have biking trails and rail and wheelchair access for this entire 7.5 miles and connecting multiple trailheads along the way. So this is a great way to get into nature and also maintain a little bit of grace for the people who live around it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, drones, they do all kinds of things. Well, they captured something fascinating here. First evidence of narwhals using their tusks to explore, forage, and play. Beautiful, eh? Drone footage has revealed that the narwhal actively wields its long tusk for hunting and play behavior, opening up whole new fields of study over one of the ocean's most charismatic denizens. The scientific name of the narwhal literally translates to one tooth, one horn, an incredibly iconic name since the first thing that anyone learns about the narwhal is that it appears to be a horn is actually a tooth or tusk. At least someone was paying attention, even if someone else wasn't. The tusk, which is predominantly found in males and can grow up to 10 feet long, is one of the most fascinating adaptations in nature and the inspiration for myths such as the unicorn. It is believed to play a role in competition for mates, including mating displays. The tusk may have other uses, and its function has long been debated, primarily because few people have observed how these elusive animals use their tusks in the wild. Limited field observations have long left the creature's true nature to gut instinct, speculation, and wild fantasy. But researchers from Florida Atlantic University's Harbor Branch Oceanography, okay, we will skip that word. Institute and Canada's Department of Fisheries and Oceans, in partnership with Inuit communities in Nunavut in Canada's high Arctic, provide the first evidence of narwhals using their tusks in the wild to investigate, manipulate, and influence the behavior of Arctic char. These large, common, and delicious game fish of the northern seas were found to be on the receiving end of the narwhal's tusk, with the whales delivering sufficient force to stun and possibly kill the fish. Using drone observations, researchers captured 17 distinct behaviors which shed light on the dynamics between the narwhal and its prey. The result of the study, published in the journal Frontiers in Marine Science, also revealed the first evidence of likely play, specifically exploratory object play in narwhals, as well as other fascinating insights into their behavior in the changing Arctic. Aspects of the narwhal's actions, for example, may also have included social learning and possibly social instruction and personality differences among individual narwhals. These novel findings further enrich our understanding of the narwhal's complex behavior. How cool is that? Being able to look at something that we've not been able to truly study before. I think that's truly, truly brilliant. Well, speaking of brilliant, when I look at science, sometimes I am just in awe because how do people think of these things? I have no idea. Science harnessed the phantom limb to allow an amputee to feel hot and cold in a new prosthetic. Yeah. Phantom limb is one of those enduring medical mysteries that someone could feel sensations in a hand which had long ago been lost to amputation. Like little harnessing the placebo effect, scientists have been able to stimulate nerve endings in the skin of an amputated arm, which trigger thermal phantom limb sensations, including hot and cold. Adapting one patient's existing prosthetic arm and socket with sensors and thermodes or small devices which can change temperature, placed at these key nerve endings allowed the man to distinguish a hot water bottle from a cold or room temperature one, not because his prosthetic was detecting it, but because his phantom limb was. In a previous study, as we have shown the existence of these spots in the majority of amputee patients that we have treated, study participant Fabrizio Fedati was able to tell the temperature of a bottle grasped by his modified prosthetic 100% correctly, failing or falling to just 1/3 without it. Warmth is the most beautiful sensation there is. It's an interesting technology that would serve to improve prosthetics a lot. The integration of these sensations, hot and cold, in my opinion, we need to shake hands and improve social interactions with other people. Heat is fundamental. Schocher said he imagined when testing patients that after the nerve ending stimulation, each subject would point to a certain area on their stump that Schocher's team was interacting with, exactly the same as if you put a hot cup of tea against the skin on your forearm. Instead, patients could point to a place on their prosthetic hand and remark that it was here that they felt the sensation. How cool is that? Oh, science. Oh my gosh. We have so many brilliant people in this world that I'm in awe. I'm in awe. Well, here's a young man to really, really celebrate. From India comes the incredible story of a young man who reconstructed an extinct musical instrument using clues in ancient literature. Called the Yaz, this gorgeous harp, carved in the form of a peacock and aided by a resonator, was played for Tamil kings 2,000 years ago, but hasn't been manufactured for years, perhaps even centuries. His passion for Indian instruments led him to start an instrument company called Uru, which is now selling these harps all over the world. Profiled in a feature for the Better India, Tarun Sakar picked up instrument making at university while studying for an architecture degree. Born in Chennai, the capital of the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, Sakar was comfortable making guitars and ukuleles, but felt a calling to do something different. After finishing college, I was considering instrument making full time. While Western instruments are popular, I was driven by the question of why our instruments weren't reaching a global audience. He never intended to start making yas, but came upon it when a friend asked him if he knew how to make one. Looking into it, he realized there was virtually no information on how it was handcrafted, played, or even what it sounded like. The mystery left him entranced, and soon, with the help of some friends, he was consulting the canon of ancient Tamil literature. We started to read works of literature where there was a mention about yas. We won't have direct information about the instrument, but rather it would be hidden behind metaphors or phrases. The sound of yas was like honey. The bend of yas was like the belly of an 8-month pregnant woman. From this, he managed to formulate an idea of what the instrument looked like. For sounds, he took references from the canon and compared them with related instruments from other regions, like the Greek lyre or an antique harp from Burma. The literature mentions several components in common in stringed instruments, such as tuning keys, a resonator, and a bridge. It took him a year, with the help of local experts in brasswork, to make his first yas, but now he can crank out several in a year. All are hand-carved wooden metal, made to order in different sizes. There are some the size of the harps played by minstrels in the Middle Ages, but other yas are very tall and come with a stand to support the weight of the brass drum-sized resonator. It sounds somewhat like a sitar, Western lyre, and a banjo. Uru instruments have sold around 80 to customers from Canada, the US, UK, Germany, India, and other countries. How cool is that? To come up with something that hadn't been done before. So cool. This Mexican priest performed as a wrestler to pay for orphanages that nurtured thousands. This is a beautiful story. So, if the headline to this story sounds oddly like the plot of the movie Nacho Libre starring Jack Black, well, that's because they are one and the same. Fray Tormenta was a masked wrestler that delighted crowd in Mexico for years, but few would have known that underneath the mask there was a man of God, a drug addict turned priest who wrestled purely to raise money for an orphanage. The story, which though decades old, resurfaced and was retold recently on a Spanish news outlet. He was born in 1945, the second youngest of 18 children. Youch. By the tender age of 11, Benitez was addicted to drugs and proceeded down a path of crime, robbery, and odd jobs to fund his various dependencies. I started when I was 11 or 12. In this country, drugs have always been very present. I did everything, marijuana and cocaine every day, even mushrooms from time to time. A little after that, I started heroin. At age 20, Benitez was staring down murder charges after a friend of his in a gang he was turned up in dead. Fortunately, an alibi of drunkenly passing out in a bar elsewhere helped him evade the slammer. After that, he sought confession for reasons only he can say. But even though he was turned away for his wickedness, he joined the seminary and became a priest, studying in Spain and Italy to cement his faith. After joining the Diocese of Texcoco, he wanted to build a shelter for the city's many homeless children and orphans, but the costs were prohibitive. An early life of gang and street fighting in which he was stabbed, beat up, and shot left him with a high tolerance for pain, and so he pulled on the mask and started wrestling for $15 per hour under the name Fray Tormenta. He ended up wrestling for 23 years, from 1977 to 2000, traveling from town to town, elbow dropping, tombstoning, and double legging his way to semi-stardom. Relying on his mask to hide his identity, he eventually revealed his double personality to officiate the wedding of a close wrestling colleague shortly before opening his orphanage, the object of his long fight at the turn of the millennia. How beautiful is that, to turn around and do that to help someone else? And just as we're closing, we have another beautiful story. The long contested border in Central Asia celebrates peace after years-long conflict. 2 of the Central Asian stands have agreed to shift their borders after decades of violent frontier flare-ups, celebrating peace between neighbors. Not every country can enjoy a border as easily delineated as Colorado and Kansas. Few areas of the world can boast a worse cartographical headache than the Fergana Valley. Located where the borders of Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan touch, this fertile region appears like a Jackson Pollock painting, as bits of each nation jut into each other and drops of sovereignty territory are scattered here and there, surrounded by foreign land. To make matters worse, the Fergana Valley, like so much of Central Asia, is home to nomadic people who, for generations, never had to think about international borders. So they turned around and they made a difference. They moved villages to make sure they could stay in the country they knew, and they have managed to come to a place of peace. I think this should be a model for what the rest of us could be doing. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching. Be sure to come again next week, and know that there's always good news on Friday evening and Friday afternoon. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I look forward to being back with you again next month. Take care, and that's the good news for Friday, March 7th. Bye for now.